Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Chiseled. And why do we call it Chiseled? Because we're all work in progress. Again, I'm your host, Rob Commodari. I'm also the author of the book Better Than You Think and co-author the book Next Level Your Life with Kyle Wilson and several other authors. But today I have a guest, Patrick Lewis, all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. Patrick's been the CEO and president of Superior Rigging and Erecting Company since 2001 and has demonstrated exceptional leadership, grown the business 4 times, expanded to new locations, and manages a workforce of over 350 dedicated employees. And I will say with that company, I think he's been part of the some major construction at Daytona, Motor Raceway, I think it's called, the Miami Marlins Stadium, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. So big stuff there. But when I was talking to Patrick offline, we're talking about the bio, and he's got like 2 sentences here about his business. And he's got about 15 sentences about what his real passion and love is here. So Patrick has his achievements have extended far beyond the corporate world, as I'm getting ready to tell you. His power in the realm of softball coaching is equally impressive. He served as the head coach of the Georgia Impact from 2009 to 2022, and Bombers in 2023, achieving significant milestone in 2018 when his team claimed the PGF National Championship. Furthermore, he secured runner-up positions in the PGF Nationals in 2015 and 19, consistently maintaining a top 10 finish over 7 consecutive years. He boasts a extraordinary career record of over 700 wins and an exceptional 883 winning percentage. His impact on the coaching scene has been widely recognized, consistently ranking him among top 5 coaches in the nation. His commitment to the community is equally commendable. He's an active member of the Marietta City Church and contributes to the spiritual and moral growth of his community. Additionally, he serves as the board member on the NFL Chaplains Advisory Board, providing guidance and support to athletes and actively mentors young men and entrepreneurs. Patrick, thanks for joining us today. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Honored to be here. And I probably need to shorten that bio up a little bit.
Well, there was more left out.
Yeah.
But good stuff. So I met Patrick at a men's retreat, courtesy of Tommy Breedlove and led the Legendary Movement. And we met, I guess has it been a year and a half ago, maybe?
Yeah, right at.
Yeah, and that was a great event for me. I don't know what you took from it, but I'm assuming it had some kind of impact on you as well.
Yeah, 1,000%. It was an event on my way there. It was one of the first ones I'd done like that because I used to be just fearful of those things. I would stay away from them because somehow if I went to them and I had to be vulnerable, somebody's going to figure out that I'm really not that smart a guy. So I showed up there with a lot of fear, and I think you were one of the first guys I met, and realized that there was some authenticity there and the connection of it, and just loved it. Fell in there, and learned a lot that weekend.
Yeah, it was great. And so we've stayed in touch periodically since then. But Patrick, if you can give us some context of how you got to, because we're going to talk about a few things, your success as a businessman, this passion you have for coaching. And along the way, there's been huge success, but there's some mental health problems or issues or struggles, let's just call it, that you've dealt with. And if you could take us through the context of where you started, we'd love to hear that.
Yeah. So I started to work at the company that I'm CEO of now, Superior Rigging and Erecting Company, back when I was either 10 or 11 years old. And my dad said, hey, you got to go to work. And so the day I got out of school during this, when the summer started, to the day I had to go back to school, I had to come to work. And, it evolved through a number of things over the course of those years. But it started out cutting grass and rolling a magnet across the yard and loading toolboxes, unloading toolboxes. But, so I started that when I was 10 or 11 and had a checking account at 10 years old and had to save my money if I wanted to buy school clothes or anything else that I wanted for the year, and had to grow up fast. But and I was sharing with you when I first started there, I think I was making $3.35 an hour, and minimum wage was $3.65. So some of the guys there encouraged me to call the labor board on the company. So that's what I did.
And you got your 30-cent raise, right?
I got my 30-cent raise and a really mad father out of it.
What caused the anger with your father?
Me calling the labor board on him. I don't think you were supposed to be having anybody at 10 or 11 working at that time. So,
So your father was working at the company, or?
Yeah. So he was working there. My father went to work for this company in 1968. He was a union millwright. And so he was running field operations at that time. And in 1986, Mr. Horn, the guy that started the company, passed away, and he left it in his will that his widow had to give the top guys in the company a chance to buy it. And my dad was one of those guys. And so him and four other guys, or him and three other guys, bought the business in 1986 and ran it till 2001 when they sold it to me and a few guys.
That's awesome. Yeah. So that was, how old were you when you bought the company?
27, about to
Wow.
be 28.
So gosh, you started 10 or 11 within 17 years old. Did you ever see yourself as like the future owner of this company?
Yeah, it was something that came to me that I really wanted to do probably in my later teenage years. When I was 16, 17 years old, it was my goal. And the guy that was the president at the time was my dad's partner. His name was Benny Tumbleston. And I would see him walk across the yard, and I would literally tell him, "I'm going to do your job one day." And that was the goal I set out on.
Do you think that ambition or that drive came from the fact that you had to grow up fast?
Yeah, I think that's part of it, right? I think as parents we instill certain values and work ethics into our kids. I think some of it you're born with, but definitely being forced to go to work, probably seeing uh, a bank account and having some money and realizing that money, pretty much makes the world go round, and knowing I wanted to achieve great things in regards to that and what I thought success looked like. I thought that was the best path for me to go do it.
Yeah. So at age 11, I mean, obviously, I can't imagine there was a pure understanding of money and financing. So, what was there a point in time from the time you're 11 or whatever it was to maybe 2021 that you said to yourself, I really understand this money thing and I want to build something here?
Yeah, I don't know that I ever understood how to manage money until I was, way older in life. But when you're in high school and everybody's showing up to high school in really nice clothes, and back then I'll date myself, but it's Z Cavariccis, and you want a pair of Z Cavariccis, you better have some money in the bank, or get jeans or one of those things. So yeah, I learned the power of having money to get the things that you needed to have so other people thought you were cool, which
Yeah.
probably didn't serve my mental part of what we're going to talk about at some point, I'm sure, because that kind of evolved and carried over for the next 20 years, and how I conducted myself.
Yeah, you're funny. We never talked about that yet. The whole, I didn't know what a Z Cavaricci was until 1987 when I went away to college. I was in Boca Raton, Florida, and all these guys are going to Miami and they're wearing Z Cavariccis. I'm like, what the hell's a Z Cavaricci?
Yeah, they were so cool. Baggy at the top, man, but pegged at the bottom. Yeah, we thought we were cool with those things. With that and parachute pants.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny. You bring back memories on that one. So yeah, so then we were talking offline, and you're talking about like having to grow up fast. There was a time when like you rebelled, right?
Yeah, yeah,
What did that look like?
yeah. Well, when I got into my mid to late 20s, and really about the time I bought the company, and you thought you met all your goals, and you achieved the things that you were going to achieve, it was kind of now what's next. And I was going through some personal stuff in my life too, but kind of before I started going through that personal stuff, I'd gone down a path of really acting like a teenager because all my teenage years were gone. And it came from playing in a band to chasing women to doing drugs, drinking, all the things that just the wild weekends that I would say we're not even supposed to do those our teenage years, but we're certainly supposed to have a little more fun in our teenage years than what I had in regards to working. So I took it to the extreme, man, and I was damn good at it too.
And you had fun with it?
Yeah, I had fun with it, but looking back on it, it wasn't much fun.
Well, hindsight's always 2020, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So you're owning the company, right? We'll come back to I guess rebellion part, but you own the company now, and like that's a real early age to own something this, I guess. Well, I mean, you've grown it 4 times, so I'm assuming this was a pretty decent, sizable company when you bought it.
Yeah, we were doing $20 million in revenue when I bought it, and we're north of 80 now. So yeah, it was a huge responsibility, um, but I knew what I was doing. I knew how to execute on it. I was also insecure, so that made it tough. But I kind of hid that insecurity through masculinity and ego, and those sort of things. So I'm sure I was tough to work for or with at that young age. But, we were blessed. We had, this company's had a lot of generations of families that have worked here. And, we got some still here now that's fourth, fifth generation families. So the culture, the love for Superior bled through. And it was just a different mindset of workers back at that time. And
So
you
you
didn't
said you're
have,
insecure. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. Yeah.
You said you're insecure. So I'm thinking sitting on the outside watching this guy 10, 11 years old. He starts working, age in his early 20s, ends up buying his company. This guy's got to be living on top of the world. What was the insecurity?
Well, it's what's people's opinion of you going to be, right? How did you
Yeah.
get? What are people going to think about you? And when you're constantly worried of what someone's thoughts are of what you're doing, how do you look? Do you have enough money? Are you making the right decisions? Like everything in your mind's insecure. Every thought that creeps in is a doubt, and every decision you make is not, taking the information and trying to make a decision that's best for where you're trying to go. It's, well, what's so and so going to think about this, or what's my dad going to think about this, or what's this person going to think about this. So yeah, I mean, it just breeds constant insecurity and misery.
And so was there a time when you broke free of that you could put a pinpoint?
Probably in my mid 40s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so there was my, they sold us the business in 2001, and there were four of us. That dwindled down to just me and my partner Herschel, and Herschel and I did a great job growing this business through a lot of downturns and economies, and created a fantastic team here. And I had gained a lot of confidence through that, and maybe a little less insecure. Still care what people thought. But I remember when Herschel was older than I was, when he came to me and said he was ready to retire, and that was in 2016. I thought, oh man, like it's all on me now, right? There was something comforting about having a partner. And so when you had to make every decision on your own and going through that, and then learning to lean on my faith, and that relationship allowed me to break through and start chiseling away, if you will,
Yeah.
at those insecurities, and a lot of therapy as well.
So, so you talked about leaning into your faith.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in this faith-based guy, or did that develop over time?
Yeah. I mean, I was, I was saved by Jesus at a young age, and was close, and walked the walk. But I've always kind of walked the walk through periods of my life, and um, where certain things would happen, and I would get away from God. I guess when I grew up in the Baptist church, they would call it backslidden Christians, and so I had periods of my time where I was a backslidden Christian, and so, man, I told you I'd gone through some things in my late 20s, where some really bad decisions and some personal things that went on. And I had reached out to a guy that was someone I looked up to in the church, and he was part of a men's group that I had been a part of. And I just thought he was the man that I wanted to model myself to be in regards to my faith with Jesus. And so I made this huge misstep, reached out to him because I needed him, and I needed I needed him to help me through it, and to help me through it, see it through God's eyes. And he didn't take my call, and he never returned my call. And that just kind of sent me even further on downward spiral in regards to, self belief in who I am, and personal opinions of who I am, and then what other people's opinions must be of who I am. But it also separated me from the church for a while, because he was my vision of what a godly man was. And if a godly man would turn his back on someone in need, then that wasn't who I wanted to be. So I kind of packed everything, my emotions in regards to that, and my relationship with Jesus, and I put it all in a box, if you will, in my brain, and put it in the back, and just hardened everything up, and went about my business for a while.
And how were you able to open that box back up, so to speak?
Yeah. It's a long journey of thinking that happiness is found in things. Happiness is found in relationships, other people, whatever it is. And so I worked really hard to get all those things, whether it was houses, beach homes, lake homes, cars, watch. I mean, you name it. Relationships, and it would fill those holes temporarily, like for a week or two, and then it was that hole was open again, and it was that misery, and then it was on to the next thing, and then it was on to the next thing, and I finally got to a point in my life where I could buy anything I wanted. I'd had plenty of relationships, none that I valued, but and I looked in the mirror and I was like, now what are you going to do? You're absolutely miserable. All you really think about every single day when you wake up is today, the day you put a bullet in your brain, and it's not what you want to do. So what are you going to do about this, and how are you going to overcome it? And at this time, my kids had left home. I was mom and dad and my three kids. I'd raised them. So the last one were going to college. So it was just me and the dog. And we were living on this farm, hour south of Atlanta, 45 minutes to the nearest grocery store, and started back talking to God, and started reading my Bible in the mornings. Started spending quiet time, and we also had some non-quiet time where I did a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming at God, and a lot of self-reflection, and He talked back to me, and let me know that He loved me, and that me loving myself and creating myself through the image of Him, I could do away with all that misery that I was going through and all the things that I was chasing, that I was never going to find the peace that I found in relationship with Him.
So you, like we said something offline, I'll say it this way, maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but there was an identity crisis. You were putting your identity in something other than what you were supposed to be. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Call it what you want. Imposter syndrome, identity crisis, needed everybody else's approval, needed your father's approval, would not have meaningful, authentic connections or friendships or business relationships because they're going to find out you're a fake and you're a phony.
Yeah. Now you said you started talking to God. Was there, like, and you said you had the one person that really didn't help out. Was there a person that was instrumental in you reopening that box to God, or you just said one day, I can't take this anymore?
Yeah. Aaron Walker. Aaron Walker is a guy that I developed a relationship with. I had heard Aaron on some podcasts, and his story intrigued me. His relationship with Jesus intrigued me, and he was doing some mastermind stuff. So I reached out to him and ended up getting a mastermind with him, and he led the group, and we developed a friendship, a really, really close friendship, and it's still close to this day. And he's a mentor of mine that has helped mold me into being a pretty good human being, a pretty good man. So,
that's awesome.
He was instrumental in that.
Yeah, so you mentioned yelling at God. I imagine some people thinking, like, how dare can you yell? How dare you yell at God, right? And I think it's a fair statement, because if you're struggling at something, right, and you maybe you're bottomed out and you're asking for help, so you yelling at God, was it like help me or why me, or what was that like?
Why, help me, all the above, man.
Yeah.
Anything to get me through to the other side of what I was going through.
Did you ever get to a point where it was like, instead of saying, God, why are you doing this to me? Thank you for doing it for me.
Yeah, he in one of my yelling sessions with him, I didn't want to be at this farm anymore because it was alone time, and it was all these things that I needed to go through, and through one of these yellings, why did you put me here? Why am I here? Please get me out of here. And it's one of the few times God's verbally spoke to me, and people may think that's just lunacy, but there was a verbal voice from God that reminded me of a story of when I was a child, that I had jumped off the side of a pool, spun around in the air, hit the bottom of my chin, busted it wide open. My mom had to take me to the emergency room, and I don't know how many stitches they had to put in it, but I was 6 years old, somewhere in that range. And I remember screaming to my mom, don't let him hurt me. Don't let him hurt me. and they strapped me to that table and they held me down because I wouldn't be still. And he verbally told me, that's what I'm doing to you. I'm holding you in place to heal you. Let me do what I need to do. And that was when I stopped the yelling. I succumbed, and I started spending the time with him that I needed to spend, and spending time with me that I needed to spend to get through the things that I needed to get through.
Yeah, I saw that clip of yours talking about the busting your chin, and I actually had it written. I had it written down on a piece of paper before we got on today. God holds us in places so He can heal us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard thing for people to see. Do you agree with that?
Oh, super hard. Yeah. I mean, I didn't. I never even thought about that at the time until those were the words that he spoke to me. And
I'm sitting here thinking
I think we think at times God's punishing us, and
you're going right down the road I want to go. You're going right down that road. Keep going. Keep going.
God doesn't punish us. He's a loving Father, and a lot of where we miss the boat is we associate our godly Father with our earthly Father, and our earthly Father has punished us, and so we think that's who our godly Father is, and that He's going to reject us. So a lot of times when we do bad things, we don't come close to Him; we run from Him because we're so used to the switch or the belt or the yelling or the whatever it is that we got, and that we got discipline. But that's not who our heavenly Father is at all. He will discipline us, but He's not going to punish us.
Patrick, man, I got chills right now because this is probably going to air a couple months from now. But I just did an event last night, and I called it "Living the Chiseled Life," an introspective look inside, and I had some props. And the prop I had a hammer, I had a chisel, and I had a rock. And the rock represented you, me, or the person, right, who we're supposed to be. And the hammer was God's love. And every time He struck the chisel, whether that's in a moment, an experience, be it good or bad, because we might see on the surface an experience as being bad, but if you find the lesson or the silver lining in it, there's a reason He's hitting that chisel to carve you into who you're supposed to be. And the idea of a hammer coming down on you feels like punishment, but in reality, it was love.
Yeah.
So I got for whatever reason this happened that we're talking right now, and I just did this last night. So it's amazing. I got chills thinking about it.
Yeah, that's cool. Very cool.
So do you so when you have your experiences now, is there ever of course I imagine there's some frustration, or maybe there's not anymore, or do you is there frustrating? You're like, you say what you say, yell what you yell, and you're like, all right, let me get myself together now. I know He's doing this for me. Or you don't even have that moment, and you're like, I get it.
There's no frustration in my life anymore.
There's not.
There's not. And anybody that knew me during this whole journey would tell you that all Patrick ever wanted in his life was peace. And that's all I have now. That's all I have. Peace, joy, happiness. Doesn't matter what happens. And
that's amazing. And you kind of alluded to it, but if you can, for lack of a better word, reiterate, but what does joy, peace, and happiness mean to you?
Well, happiness is being content with who we are, being content with our life, and being grateful every single day. So I think it's something you have to make a choice in, and you have to practice it. You have to be intentional with it. For me, joy's finding coolness in everything that I find gratitude in. There's joy in. Man, I never watched the sunrise. Never watched the sunset. Didn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
Now it brings me so much joy to see it every night.
Yeah.
And that's all I want to do. It's there's so many things in life that He lays out for us that's where the joy is. And not only in the things, I find joy now in people. And I used to hate people. I didn't want to be around people. I used to tell people I don't like people. And now I'm striving and starving for authentic connection. And so that's what I seek in my life now: is authentic connection with others that want authentic connection back.
So what is in the sunset or the sunrise? What is the joy you feel? Can you explain that?
It's God's hand. I mean, it's you get to see Him painting the sky every night, and I don't think for me, it's one of the places that I feel the closest to Him.
Is there a sense of awe?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And they're all different.
Yeah.
They're all
Yeah.
different. It's beautiful. There's a sense of awe. There's a sense of smallness and who we are and how big God is.
Do you ever go out in the course of the day? Like I get up in the morning, sometimes I look for that awe. I look to find it. Do you have a similar attitude or similar mindset?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Are there days when you're like, I wasn't awed, and like, where is it, God? Or you can find awe in the smallest of things. I know you can.
Yeah. I don't think there's any days that I don't go that I'm not in awe because I'm in awe of what He's done to me. Like if you would have known me before, and I wasn't a bad person, but I just wasn't the person you want to be around, really,
Yeah.
honestly and truly. So, um, yeah, if there's nothing there, I can look in the mirror and I can be in awe.
So, have you been able to detach yourself totally from the whole identity thing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need anybody else's approval. I got His approval. Um, I love who I am. I love what I do. Um, I love being a follower of Jesus. I love being a father to my kids. I love being a business owner and a leader and a coach and just all the things that I am. I just love who I am as a person, and that's a pretty cool place to be. It's
It's
been
a
a
great
long
place to be.
journey, long
Yeah.
journey.
So what would you say to the person that's struggling to find that place of peace, to find that place of contentment, to find that place of joy and being in awe every day? And because you said I think you used the word cool. It's a pretty cool place to be. What,
Yeah.
what would you? Is it about? What would you say to that person? Because I got another question.
All about loving yourself. Point blank in the story, loving yourself. And I had a therapist that I told you I did a lot of therapy, and he told me a couple of things. Well, like so when I was looking for lake houses and I was looking for this, he goes, "Oh, that's great. You're going to enjoy being alone in it because nobody wants to be around you,
Uh-huh.
and you better learn to love yourself." And I went, "Fantastic. Tell me how to do that. Give me the steps, and I can check the box. I know how to do things." And he goes, "I cannot tell you how to do that. That's something you're going to have to figure out on your own, and you're going to have to spend some time with yourself." So I would tell you if you're unhappy, you're struggling, you can't find joy, you can't find peace, you need to go spend some time with yourself. Take yourself
Yeah.
away from the things of this world. I'm not telling you to get away from the relationships in your life. I'm not telling you that. But be open and honest with the people that you're in a relationship with or your family and have some dialogue about what you need and what you need to do and admit what's happening inside of you. Because
Yeah.
that's one of the most freeing things. Is when you can tell the people you love what's happening inside of you, and then go spend some time with yourself and really get in God's word, pray, hit your knees, cry, yell, scream, whatever it is you have to do to get to a place where you realize you're enough.
So the follow-up question to what I asked you before was like, it's coming into play right now. Is what does the word surrender mean to you?
Mm-hmm. Never really thought about that, Rob. I think it's I was forced to surrender. So, um, yeah, surrender is giving it all to Him,
Yeah.
realizing that there's nothing of this world or in this world that is of us. It's all Him. And if we'll hand it all over to Him, and He'll fulfill us, He'll make us whole.
Yeah, because I think some people think surrender is waving up the white flag, and in a sense, hey, I'm waving it up to you, God help me. But it's like surrender. I mean, you're surrendering to a higher power. You're surrendering to something that's so much bigger than us. And as you said, you detach yourself from that stuff. You let go. I mean, it is a surrender to His love, is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, how did you got all this going on? You got some great stuff going on, and we know how much you love softball.
Yeah. So
So,
I actually retired after this past summer. I retired from coaching travel softball. And,
yeah,
and the only thing I'm doing now is I am coaching, assistant coaching on the Great Britain national team. So
yeah.
that's going to take up a little bit of my time. And softball got in the Olympics for 2028. So we're going to work towards trying to qualify for the Olympics. So that'll be a really cool experience. But yeah, the other was it's a passion. I love it, and Great Britain's going to allow me to continue to fulfill that passion. But I got some other things that I'm working on and excited about.
So, what got you involved in softball, coaching girls softball, right?
Yeah, so I got two daughters and a son, and my middle daughter played for a while, and I don't know. I fell in love with coaching ladies. They're intriguing bunch to coach versus guys, and I was pretty good at it, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I enjoyed helping them achieve their goals and their dreams, and to do things that they never thought that they could possibly do on a softball field. And I learned how to run it similar to the business and building a really good team around me. And I had a really, really good team of assistant coaches that we had a lot of fun for a lot of years and super successful. So,
Now, did you ever play softball yourself?
I played baseball.
Yeah.
Never really played softball. It's fast pitch, and I remember when I first started, I was coaching a rec league slow pitch team, like 10 and under slow pitch team, and all of a sudden, oh man, we're gonna have this travel ball team, and we couldn't find anywhere to play. Nobody was playing slow pitch, so we had to learn fast pitch pretty quick. But my dad coached travel softball growing up, so I grew up with it with my sister. But back then it was slow pitch, so we traveled the country in a little customized van, hauling kids all over the country for softball tournaments. So it's kind of all I knew in addition to work.
That's cool. Yeah, I coached girls basketball, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and I loved it, man. I totally loved it. Never coached basketball in my life, and I was reading books, and I just, for whatever reason, I fell in love with that at the time. I don't do it anymore, but it was just a cool thing. So from a coach's perspective, did you ever bring the idea of like using sports as a metaphor for life with these kids?
Yeah, all the time. And I also bring the coaching sports and the metaphors for life back to my business. And
Okay.
they're so tired of hearing the sports metaphors in my business. I'm having to come up with new stuff to get them to pay attention. They're done with the sports conversations.
So we'll get wrapping it up here soon. But I was watching one of your conversations, and you talk about gratitude, right? How that changed your life.
Yeah.
So were you somebody that didn't see the gratitude in things, and then the switch went off, and you're like, man, I need to be grateful for things?
Yeah, through that, I wasn't grateful for anything because I was always chasing the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're always chasing the next thing or the next, item, house, car, whatever it is, you can't be grateful for what you have. And so through the process of all the therapy that I'd done and spending the time with God, yelling and screaming at Him and praying, and one morning I just started practicing writing in a gratitude journal, and I would write 5 things that I was grateful for, and I would make sure they weren't big things, they weren't a house, they weren't whatever. It was the sunrise, it was hot coffee, it was the conversation I had with my son last night. And so it shifts your mindset right away to pay attention to all these little things that you're going to miss at some point, or you may miss forever.
Yeah.
And so I then took that, practice away from the journal. I journal now because I'm back living by myself, but I used to have a whiteboard that I kept in the kitchen. So I would get up every morning and I would write my 5 things on the whiteboard, hoping that my kids were older, so at this point you really can't force them to do anything, but hoping that they would see the change in me and see that this is one of the things Dad's doing, so maybe they would pick the practice up. If they haven't told me, but that was my intent with it. But I still
That's great.
still write down every day 5 things I'm grateful for, and it's a mind shift for sure.
Do you ever get surprised, or let me ask you this, do you ask people to tell you what they're grateful for?
I have a few friends or a few people that I'll meet, and we exchange some of those texts from time to time. I had a guy that I ran into that I've known for a little while, a couple of weeks back, and he was honest that he was struggling and some things in his life. So I'll text him every morning, make him send me a few things he's grateful for.
Yeah.
He's probably
But
tired of hearing from me.
you talk about the small things, right? Because it's funny, like I can go, like people, sometimes I'm talking to people and they struggle to come up with one thing, just one thing, right? And I'm like, you're not thinking big enough. You're not thinking, not big enough in terms of the big gratitude, but thinking big enough, opening your mind, because like I could go like just go on the softball field, right? Okay, there's somebody that made that glove. There's somebody that manufactured it, put it together. There's somebody that grew the product to harvest the product to make that glove. There's the factory. There's the workers. There's the people that sell it. You can go from you take one theme and you can expand on it, and even the dirt you walk on, right? The rubber of the soles of your shoes. Who made that? Where'd that come from? So it's all these little things that you can be grateful for. You just go on one little theme and it can take you down this road. There's so many things to be grateful for that it's not as hard as people make it to be. You just got to open your mind. And I think of more of the little things.
But how do you open your mind? You just got to start. Right?
Yeah.
Like, to your point, you ask these people, they can't do anything because they've never started. It's not easy.
Yeah.
You don't just wake up one day and go, "Oh, I'm grateful for everything." Right? You may sit there with that pen and paper for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Trying to figure it out. But force yourself to do it and just start it. Like start anything. And then once you do it over and over and it becomes a habit and it becomes a practice, then it's like super easy. And I'm telling you, it shifts and reprograms your brain. And it'll be a light switch that'll go off. And all of a sudden, you won't have a bad day. You may have bad moments. You may have bad moments. I'm not saying you won't have bad moments, but you won't have a bad day ever again.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm going to share that with people because we're all going to have moments, but in those moments, something's going to come and you find out and you be grateful for it. But I love that. I love that, Patrick. Man, that's good stuff, man. So, I don't know if you have anything else to add, but I really appreciate you being on here today.
No, man, I appreciate you having me on. And it's great seeing you, great talking to you. And yeah, I'll be honest with you, before I got on, I didn't really, know how faith-based or centered the conversation is. So pleasantly surprised that we got to talk about that more than I was expecting. So thank you.
Well, that's it's all about being chiseled in the faith, being chiseled spiritually. Look, I got to tell you a funny story. People are going to hear this. So I got this shirt, right? It's called Chiseled, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm in pretty good shape. I think I look pretty good, right?
Phenomenal shape. If nobody's watching the video, you need to take a peek at it.
But so here's the funny piece, right? So I want to wear this shirt in honor of what God's got me going on, right? What He's got me doing. And it just says chiseled, we're all work in progress. There's nothing spiritual on this shirt, right?
Yeah.
So I have an insecurity. When I put this shirt on, people are going to say, "Oh, look at this guy. He looks good. He just wants to show off and say he's chiseled," right? That's the insecurity that's going through my head, right? What are other people thinking? So, Patrick, this is so funny. It was, what's that?
I said, wow, I didn't think, that never even crossed my mind, but I could see that.
It's my insecurity, right?
Yeah.
What are other people thinking? But I'm here to honor God, and I'm wearing this shirt, and I'm insecure, right? So this has happened just last week. So I have a men's fellowship group that I lead, and I wore this shirt to the men's fellowship. So I get out of my car, and this guy, he's been coming for a couple months now, and the first thing he says to me, he goes, "Rob, you lift a lot of weights?" And I put my head down. And I said, "Yeah, I work out, every day. I just do something small every day." And then I paused and I'm like, "But that's not what this shirt is about. That's not what this shirt." And I told him, I said, "You confirmed my fear. You confirmed my insecurity. That's the first thought of people's mind when they see something like this, that maybe this is a guy that's got an ego and he wants people to look at him."
Can I give you a different way to look at it? And maybe it'll take away your fear.
Sure.
See it as an opportunity to share the good news with them.
Yeah.
If they're willing to talk to you about it, then that's your opener to go, "Let me tell you what chiseled is to me." And most people are going to think one of two things, Rob. Either A, dang, that guy looks good. I need to find out what he's doing so I can follow it.
Uh-huh.
Or the lazy people are going to go, "Look at this arrogant SOB."
Uh-huh.
Right? And they're not ever going to do anything in their life anyway. So don't worry about those people. Worry about the people that want to talk to you and that you can share the good news with. So,
and you're right. That's a great tip, and it's going to open up the conversation, and then get them to go down that spiritual path, maybe get chiseled spiritually, right?
Yeah,
good absolutely. Stuff, man. Good. Hey, so real quick, Patrick, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, well, you know what? I didn't even ask you this other question. I ask this question on every podcast, so I got to ask you: how much more chiseling do you got going on in your life? How much more chisel do you need to get, or are you going to get? You think?
Yeah, I got a lot more chiseling to go in my life, especially from a faith-based perspective. I'm starting to study the Word more. I've recently, who knows where it'll go, but I've recently met someone that I'm enjoying spending time with and holding me accountable to be a man of God. And so that's really cool. So I got a lot of chiseling to do in regards to a potential relationship and where things could lead with that or at some point in my life. So yeah, I got a lot of chiseling left to do. I'm just I've got like one tick off of me, so I got a long way to go until it's a finished product.
There you go, man. It's awesome to hear. So if anybody wanted to have a conversation with you, reach out to you about, going through what you went through in your lifetime and how you succeeded in it, is there a way they can reach out to you?
Yeah, they could DM me on Instagram. I think it's patrick.lewis.73. Look me up, send me a direct message, or feel free. I'm at Superior Rigging and Erecting Company. We got a website, and you can reach out on that, superiorrigging.com, and get to me. Love to chat with you.
That's awesome, man. Hey, thanks for your vulnerability today, Patrick. I appreciate you sharing the story of what your career, your life, and everything you've gone through. And it means a lot for people to hear that, because some people think, I gotta have this upstanding identity and I can't be authentic. And you talked about taking that mask off. So that's so awesome. I appreciate that.
Yeah, brother. Appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on here and chat with you.
You got it. Well, everybody, thank you for listening. Until next time, let's go get chiseled.